Hello, my name is Gavin Evanson.
My name is Chloe Harris.
One, two, three. Welcome to TheatreQs.
TheatreQs.
Qs. We
Perfect.
messed it up.
Perfect. Love it. It's okay. It's
No, it
okay.
was great.
The power of editing, it'll work. Hey there. Welcome in. I've got an amazing interview today. I'm so thrilled to have these two performers on the podcast. So let's get right into it. My guests today both performed at the 2025 Jimmy Awards in June after winning the Monte Awards in Tucson. One was nominated for his role as Hades in Hadestown, and the other for Eurydice. Both were soloists in the feature group. They're both attending Rider University this fall, where they will continue to study musical theater. My guests are Gavin Evanson and Chloe Harris. But before we get into the interview, let's hear a clip from their finalist performances at the 2025 Monte Awards, courtesy of Arts Express Theater and Broadway in Tucson.
Ladies and gentlemen, finalist number 4, Gavin Evanson, singing She Loves Me from She Loves Me.
I'm tingling, just delicious tingles. I'm trembling. What the hell does that mean? I'm freezing, that's because it's cold out. But still I'm incandescent, and like some adolescent, I'd like to scrawl on every wall I see. She loves me, she loves me.
Ladies and gentlemen, finalist number 5, Chloe Harris, singing When It All Falls Down from Chaplin.
But what you gonna do when it all falls down? And where you gonna go from there? What you gonna do when the monies are gone? And who you gonna buy to care? What you gonna do when the country says now, get yourself out of here? What you gonna paint when you cannot paint the town? I'm gonna wipe the smile from that famous little clown. And what's he gonna do when it all falls down?
Gavin Evanson and Chloe Harris, welcome to TheatreQs. Chloe, we will start with you. How did you get started in theater?
Ooh, okay. So I started doing theater when I was in 3rd grade. My elementary school was doing a production of Mary Poppins, and my mom thought that it might be a good idea for her child who sings all over the house to maybe do a musical. She thought that was maybe something I would enjoy. And she was very right. It was definitely my place to be. I took to it very quickly. So, I mean, after that first show, I started doing all of the shows that my elementary school would do. And then I started doing the Gaslight Kids Camp over the summer as well. So, just a lot of youth programs, really just going all in and throwing myself into it. So, I fell more and more in love with it as time went on.
After the first camp, were you like, this is what I want to do? Or were you like, I guess we can give it another shot?
I think I knew pretty seriously and wholly that like it was my place and my thing after my first show. Because I had been in choir for a little bit and I'd always wanted to be a singer, but then I did my first real like full production and that kind of changed my trajectory a little bit into wanting to do musicals and that sort of thing. So
Gavin, how about you? How'd you get started?
CC has a tremendous amount of years on me. I started theater my freshman year of high school. The first show I did was Disaster the Musical, but I was actually in the booth. I started with tech before I started acting. I was always like obsessed with like film and TV as a kid, and I was an annoying kid. I would recite my favorite movies and things like that. But I didn't have like programs in middle school or elementary that facilitated theater. So when I went to high school, I knew that I wanted to do theater, but the first show of our year was a musical, and I was not going to sing. You were not going to catch me dead singing. I did not want to do all that. That was dumb and for losers. So I decided to do tech. And then after that, we had a play called The Man Who Came to Dinner, which was the first time I ever acted. And I auditioned in it, and I got the one role in this 3-act play that had to sing. Um, but I loved it. I loved that show so much. And the director, Dana Milne, I mean, she facilitated so much growth and passion in me. And after that show, she told me, I will be seeing you at auditions for Little Shop of Horrors. You don't have a choice. And I was like, okay, cool. And I just fell in love with it. I mean, it's like performance has always been something that I've been in love with, right? Ever since I was a kid. Like I can remember being a loser kid in my room, like memorizing movie scenes and things like that, and then like playing in my own make-believe world to literally nobody else. And finally being able to find that and funnel that energy into somewhere in high school was wonderful.
How did Sal Point's theater program and just the Tucson sort of high school theater scene shape you guys as performers?
I've been like, I think Chloe would vouch for me. I've been very busy these past 4 years. I think I've tried really hard to make theater something that I could believe in as a job, because now that I'm going to college for it, right? I'm very lucky to say that my parents were always supportive and continue to be supportive, but for me, it was something that I really wanted to prove. So all of the mentors that I had in high school, like Dana Milne and Erica Quintero and Simone Jolivet Manuel, these people facilitated so much growth in me. I think like they taught me everything that I know. I think Milne really taught me what is worth being passionate about in theater, and Simone definitely taught me the skills to become your own businessman, quite frankly, because I think in theater this is not just a business of performance, it's also for better and for worse a business of personal like entrepreneurship and
Sure.
how you
Yeah.
market yourself and things like that. And Q taught me everything that I need to know as a working actor in regard, like the only reason I know how to prep a book is because of Q, and that's something that I'm very grateful for. And I mean, I've been able to do so much community theater in Tucson for the past 4 years, and that's been so wonderful. I've got to work with wonderful companies like Arts Express and Saguaro City and Scoundrel and Scamp and all these companies that have like, there are so many wonderful creatives everywhere. And I think that's something that was very important for me to learn, this idea that like theater, not only is theater everywhere, but good theater is everywhere. You can find good people who are really good at theater anywhere you go. And being able to learn under such tremendous people in just the span of 4 years really made this feel like something that I could do.
Chloe?
I definitely think that while this isn't unique to the Tucson theater community, it's definitely something that makes growing within the Tucson theater community really special, is that like it's a community that shows up for each other, right? And so it's one of those things where you'll never catch anyone struggling on their own in this little theater space that we have in Tucson. And so I can say very confidently that I have friends all over Tucson, literally from Oro Valley to Marana to just everywhere, because of theater and because it's something that for me has brought together a lot of different people in a lot of really special places. I think the Monte Awards is one of the best examples of that happening, where this is a space where kids go to learn from their peers and push one another and connect with colleagues whom they otherwise wouldn't have had a chance to work with, right? And I think that like that's really special to have the opportunity to grow with your colleagues instead of feeling like they're worlds away making their own really great theater in other spaces. It would be sad if, at least for me, I didn't get the opportunity to collaborate with the people that I have, and the fact that I did, to me, makes growing up, especially within the theater space, because I grew up doing theater, right? Like this has been my thing and my world, and these are my people for a very, very long time. And I'm especially thankful that I did all of that growing up in Tucson because of how tightly knit the community is. Because I think it's different from those big cities where it's hard to know everybody. Here, it feels like just the natural progression of your career is you collecting all of these really fantastic, not just colleagues, but like friends that will support you in all of the endeavors that you have, which Death Do Us Part was one of those really awesome experiences where I had friends from every show and every place I'd ever done theater come to see my last show in Tucson. And that was really awesome because a lot of these people I had worked with once, right? But they still came to support me because that's what we do because we're theater people. And that's just the nature of what we like to do. It is a community effort, especially here in Tucson.
How would you say, Chloe, the Montes, and Gavin, you can chime in as well, of course, have kind of built that community, and the Montes do it in such a short period of time, which is really part of the magic of it?
I will say I remembered being a freshman and I kind of knew what the Montes, Jimmys, all that stuff was because I had seen the videos. You know, you see the finalist videos everywhere. If you're on any theater space online, you see the videos and stuff. So it was something that I was very aware of. And I remember being in our first troop meeting of the year of my freshman year. So my first troop meeting at Sal Point ever, and they started talking about it, and I turned to one of my friends and I said, I want to do that really, really bad. And then I remember I got nominated my freshman year, and it was one of those things where I went into it not really knowing what to expect, and what I found was just this community of people who, at the end of the day, you wouldn't be doing theater with a lot of these people if it weren't for the Montes because they go to a different school. So unless you are doing community theater actively, which a lot do, but for those who don't, the Montes is really their only opportunity to work with people that go to other schools. And so it's like I have a lot of friends at specifically Ironwood Ridge that I wouldn't have made otherwise if it hadn't been for the Montes. And I think it's such a fast, quick process that it's like it's a very emotionally vulnerable space because it's like you are giving everything that you have. You It's so wholly and fully you as an artist on that stage, and to feel safe enough and confident enough in what you're bringing to the table to be able to lay yourself out like that on the stage, I think requires a certain level of emotional connection between you and the other nominees, because at the end of the day, a victory for one is a victory for all. That's very much the environment that they've cultivated within the Monte Awards. And so I am happy knowing that it is a space in which we come together to support each other. And no matter who goes to New York, everybody is so overwhelmed with joy for the people that are experiencing even just the Monte Awards, because it is a really special and wonderful opportunity and something that a lot of people live in other parts of the country that don't have rap programs that send them to the Jimmys. They don't have anything like that. And so while yes, there are so many programs now and the Jimmys grows every single year, it's still not something that everybody has. And so I think we feel very lucky to have that program. And I just think that it it really pushes young artists to be there for one another, because you can't succeed in that environment if you feel like the people you're performing with aren't people you can trust. And I mean, it's really fantastic how quickly we fall into step with one another, because it feels like a family at the end of the day, because you really want to see the other people there succeed, and it's really wonderful.
For sure. Gavin?
I think I mean Cece's absolutely correct. I think the environment that those types of experiences, especially at the Montes, cultivate are really nourishing. And I think one of the most educational experiences for me, and one of the most comforting like pieces of knowledge that I gained from the Montes, is just how universal a lot of the experiences in theater are, specifically like in the creation of a production and the rehearsal process, especially in high school theater. Like some of my funniest moments at the Montes were like high school theater is a very like typecast place. As a student in high school, if you do theater, you kind of have your function. Like I was the evil guy at South Point. I played the villains because I had the low voice and look old for my age, right? And I think like learning that those types of experiences, like the frustration but love of Tech Week, and like the our tracks aren't working and we open tomorrow, like those types of experiences that used to stress me out a lot have become something that I just kind of acknowledge as part of what this is, and I think it's very funny. Like in times of stress and like the rehearsal process, I think about the fact that no matter what I feel like, I am not the first person to go through this type of thing. I am not the first person whose voice is shot before I have to go on. You know, like that's not a thing. That you're not the first to do anything. That's not how the world works. And that was actually really comforting for me to learn at the Montes. And like meet all of these kids where I'd be like, hey, you'll never believe what happened. They're like, yeah, that happened to me 8 times last week. It's like, oh, fire. Okay, sick. That's great.
I'm curious for you, especially Gavin, mentioning that kind of typecast environment of high school. How did you go about picking a contrasting piece for the Montes that kind of showed that other side of your performing?
I think the years that I got to go to the Montes, I was bringing characters that were kind of easy to contrast, except for the last year. Like the first year, I brought Professor Callahan from Legally Blonde, and it was the first year that I had ever done uh, competitive theater in that space before. It's the first time I had been ever asked to like do a contrasting piece, and I know the first year I just went more about I focused a lot on character archetype, right? And I wanted something a lot more sincere than Callahan. But then my second year, I brought the wolf from Into the Woods, right? Which is this very bombastic character piece. And that was very easy to contrast, actually, because as long as you pick anything, you're fine. Like I think the biggest deal with contrasting pieces is always going to be character. There are nuances to the contrasting pick that I learned as I got older in regards to like contrasting musical styles and musical eras, things like that. But the first thing that I will always think of are what are the core archetypical traits of the thing that I'm bringing first, and what is the exact opposite of that? And sometimes it'll be easier. Sometimes you're bringing the literal big bad wolf, and you just have to pick a human who's nice, right? It's like sometimes it's easy like that. But other times you have somebody like Hades, who I had this last year, where on the surface, it's this very like what seems to be traditionally masculine version of evil, right? He's Hades, that's the devil, right? But with Hadestown, the beauty of Hadestown and the beauty of Hades as a character is how nuanced he is and how a lot of what you expect with that like traditionally masculine, like evil character is actually not really present with Hades as a character. And so finding a song to contrast Hades became what version, because everything that Hades displays is actually incredibly sincere. He is a character that is very open with his emotions, and so finding a contrasting for that was a bit difficult because it was okay, I need to find a song that's equally sincere but in a very different way, because you're not contrasting um anything other than traits at that point. And how do these traits make people different? Because if you attack a character like Hades and you don't try to humanize him, then you're not doing it right. That's the same with any character that you will ever play, right? And finding a song that was contrasting in that sense, where you understand that Hades, like, as a character, is just as much of a person as anybody, but you have to find a song that says, "But this is the same type of person, but different," and shut up and don't worry about it. But I ended up picking "She Loves Me," right, because I'm a baritone and that's all I can do, and it worked. I mean, it was a song that I felt very good about in regards to how it contrasted Hades, just because of the way in which those similar emotions were conveyed. But
And then, Chloe, with you, you've played a lot more earnest characters, so finding a contrasting piece is probably a bit more challenging because you don't have a huge archetype like the big bad wolf to play off of.
Yeah. To be perfectly honest, I feel like in for me approaching my contrasting, especially this year, I wanted to just show the judges something that I as a performer could do that I hadn't previously, because looking back on a lot of what I had brought to the Montes previously, I had kind of always brought them, here's like earnest ballad that's a little funny number 1, and here's earnest ballad that's not funny number 2. Which one do you like more? Um and so this year, I was kind of trying to decide on songs. And of course, when you have a character like Eurydice, who Flowers is one of those songs where it's just the lowest low a girl can experience. She's quite literally like 6 feet underground, dead, and also really upset that she's dead. So I couldn't give them something like what I had the past 2 times that I had competed, where it's like, and here's a different sad song. That wasn't an option. because not only were they already seeing that from me this year, but they had seen that from me both of the other times I had competed. So I had to come into it with this understanding that like I had to show the judges something that they just hadn't seen from me at all. And so it was very much this moment of when I chose All Falls Down, I knew that just on a surface level, the two songs are incredibly different, right? Like this is a jazz up tempo, but still contemporary piece, and she's like girl bossing her way around, right? It's great. It's a super fun song, and it's really different from where Eurydice's doing her thing. But if you go a little bit deeper than that, it's just me as a performer demonstrating that I have evolved on a whole level. And now I am capable of doing things that are really different. And it's all still me. And they're all still things that I'm good at and capable of doing, which at the end of the day, I wanted to demonstrate growth on a total level of not just my single performances on stage, but what I bring to the table artistically in an entire sense. Um, because holistically, I think the goal is to have been in a completely different space than I was when I won the Montes my freshman year. I wanted those wins to feel different, and I wanted this to feel like it was coming more from a place of I, as a performer, have improved on the whole. So that's definitely a big part of what informed my contrasting song decision for the Montes this year.
What I learned in boating school is
Chloe, when you're performing on stage and when you're performing a song like Flowers that has that much depth and then going next and performing All Falls Down, are you relaxed? Are you enjoying the moment? What's your internal thought process? Because I know that's so different for so many people.
To be honest, I am someone who I think I am the most I think I'm happiest and the most honestly myself when I'm in the middle of a performance. I don't think I get more chill than when I'm on stage. The lead up to me entering the stage and like standing in the wings is kind of a not frustrating but interesting thing to behold, because it's one of those things where you like turn and you see me like walking in circles backstage, like shaking a little bit and like just like hyping myself up for the moment. And it's definitely one of those things where it's like I'm gathering all of this kinetic energy that I have in my body, and the second I come on stage it all just like floods out of me and I just lock in. And it's I think the only way I can describe it is I'm kind of like a sleeper agent in the way that like that's the only way I can describe it to you. Because to be fully like so serious, it's I am a person who, me as an individual, my brain is very loud and I think very, very quickly, and I'm kind of always on the go and I never stop thinking. But when I'm on stage, it's one of those things where everything stops and it's just me and my music and my love of what I do. And so that moment for me is a release of all of the things that I think and feel. And they just have this opportunity to finally find some sort of respite just out in the world as I sing my feelings to the audience. It's the only way that I can do that, which for me, when people ask me like why are you going into theater, it's like, yes, I love it, but also I have to. Like quite literally, I live and breathe this art, and I think I would go insane if I didn't have the opportunity to get on stage every once in a while. So, it's it's an irreplaceable feeling for me. There is nothing in the world that I love more, that feels more comforting than the feeling of being on stage doing what I love. Because, I mean, what a privilege it is to have the opportunity to make music and share stories with an audience. Like, that's such a beautiful thing. And there is no moment when you're more connected to other people. So, I love it.
Leaving it all on stage, as they say.
Yes. Very
Gavin, are
much
you in a similar mindset, or are you like tweaking out of nerves?
It's funny. Being on stage is something that is so electric for me. I think a big part of it, people talk about this idea when they're performing of being lost in that character and in the sea of the emotions on stage, and that is something that is definitely wonderful and I think I've experienced in bursts. But I can say definitively that just doesn't tend to be my experience, but not in a bad way. Whenever I am on stage, I am constantly every single moment aware of the audience. And it doesn't make me anxious, it makes me excited because there are so many things that you do in rehearsal where you say, okay, you collaborate with your director and you go, this is the direction that I want to take this piece, this character. These are the things that I want to convey. And then the moment you get on stage, the audience tells you what they want. And I think there's being able to get on stage and just say, hey, you know this thing that I've done in rehearsal 100 times? I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it because the audience isn't telling me that they want me to do that. It's a constant conversation that I am very excited to have every single time I step on that stage, especially for me in the sense that my biggest love is comedy and performing comedy and doing silly, goofy faces. Like that's what I
Spoken
tend
from
like.
the man that went to the Jimmys for Hades.
That's something in high school. Like my two typecasts. In my community theater typecast is like silly ensemble guy who makes a wacky face, and in high school it's like, what if you were the devil and you killed children? Like those are my two typecasts. But I've been able to perform a lot of comedy on stage, and I think the biggest thing for me is just feeling all of the emotions or the tension or the weight of the audience right before you deliver a punchline, right? Or right before you deliver the most dramatic beat in the show. Things like that where are what really make it worthwhile for me, because I don't know if I would get the same thing out of this. I think any performer who does live performance would say that they definitively would not get the same thing out of this if they didn't have a live audience reacting to what you're giving them. And I think there is a discipline to like film and television acting that I definitely want to acquire. I think that is just as artistically fulfilling, and that's something that I haven't been able to experience quite yet. But I'm very excited to see how that would differ from what I've already experienced, because live theater, there's this very fun phenomenon where you are so entrenched in this character and in the world you are creating in the moment. And because you're a normal human being, you do know that 500 people are watching you, right? And so that is a very weird tightrope to walk, because there is no amount of me being engrossed in a world that will make me forget that I'm on a stage with lights on my face, you know? And I think that's not a bad thing. That's what makes it very exciting for me, because if I was completely lost, I don't know if I would have fun doing it. I think it would be very fulfilling and meaningful, but I think the thing that makes me so excited to continue to do something or to do one thing over and over and over again on stage for 2 months would be the fact that I know it's going to be different every night, regardless of how many times I hit my mark.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, part of the beauty of live theater is like you're constantly, the audience is giving you what you don't get in rehearsals, and I think that's something that like in film and TV they're missing. They're guessing what the audience is going to react. In theater, you don't have to guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you both win the Monte Awards. Kind of a jump in time here. Gavin, I'll start with you. What was your overall kind of just summarize the experience of the Jimmy Awards?
Oh, the Jimmy Awards is the single greatest and most important career related week of my life, right? And I think that's the safe answer. That's the answer that anybody would expect. But legitimately, it was an incredibly important learning experience, and it was an incredibly enriching experience for me as a person. I think going to the Jimmys for me was one of those experiences where I just got to do really good theater with a lot of people who are the best in the country at it. And I just got to sit there and learn and soak it all in, right? For me, the the Jimmy Awards is a competition. It's a high school theater competition, right? You like there are all of these things, but at the end of the day, there is somebody who is going to win, right? And it's funny, this name drop. Andrew Barth Feldman came in the middle of the week, right? And he told us, he's like, hey, I need you to know that, like he told us to the group, he's like, you're not going to win the Jimmy Awards. 2 out of 110 of you are going to win, and you might not be one of those people, right? And I think like that mentality actually helped me a lot. This idea of like there are so many of the most talented people my age in this room. I don't have to worry about winning the Jimmy Awards. I just have to sit here and listen to really talented creatives do things really well and take as much as I can from that. And I've gained so many friendships from the Jimmy Awards. Like there are people I talk to people to this day from the Jimmy Awards, and I'm going to move to New Jersey in 3 days, and I know that 2 weeks after I move I'm going to go to New York City to meet up with people that I met at the Jimmy Awards, right? I like these people are not only the most talented in the country, like again, they are the best in the country at their age. That's the definitive statement about going to the Jimmy Awards, right? And not only that, but they are the most like kind and accepting and wonderful people ever. I have never felt more hyped up, which was so funny because I didn't expect that, right? The Jimmy Awards, like I kind of walked in with like I'm happy to be here attitude, but I was kind of expecting more of a wow, that's awesome. We do want you to lose though type thing. Like that was kind of the energy I was expecting, and I was very, very excited to learn that's just not how it is, like at all. I can't point at a single person that I had an interaction with at the Jimmy Awards who I felt uncomfortable with, because I think everybody kind of shares this excitement about like being in you're at Juilliard and you're talking to Broadway professionals. It's like there's too much spectacle to your education to be lost in wanting to win the Jimmy Awards, right? That's just not really, that wasn't my concern, and it made the entire experience so much more enriching.
And Chloe, you went your freshman year, so you're kind of going at it from a totally different perspective. What was that perspective shift for you, and how did that affect your ability to learn and what you took away from the Jimmys?
Sure. I mean, I will say my freshman year experience of the Jimmys was very, very different from what the Jimmy Awards experience was before and after, because my year was the COVID year, right?
Hmm.
So it's like, of course, we were still in the building, and like we felt immensely grateful to be in the building because we were very unsure if that was even a possibility at the time. So having the opportunity to still be there was fantastic. But at the same time, you were so scared of getting sick, because the reality of the situation was they sat us down on our nominee Zoom meeting and they told us, guys, please don't get sick. If you get sick, we have to send you home. Right. So I think everyone's collective goal in 2022 was, please don't get sick. Please just let me on stage. That was it. If I could have had anything in the world, it would literally have just to be on the Minskoff stage come Monday. And I mean, thank God I didn't get sick, but I know so many people who did. And it was just that fear of getting too close to the wrong person who didn't know they were sick yet. And one handshake, one hug, one shared ride up the elevator could have meant going home. And so now, having experienced that and getting a second opportunity to go and be a part of a community that was allowed to sit closer than 6 feet away from each other was fantastic. Because I will say, I have a lot of friends that I made at the 2022 Jimmy Awards who I am still extremely close with. One of my really, really good friends, she and I were at the Jimmys together. We were both freshmen. And then we were actually at the Chicago Unifieds together as seniors. And that was just really special to have continued that friendship all the way through high school and seen her growth several states over, and now to share the college audition experience with her was really crazy, because I thought that I was going to go to Chicago and know absolutely nobody because it's the Chicago Unifieds and all of my friends were doing LA or New York, right? So it's like I don't know anyone in the Chicago area, so I thought I was going to be a loner. But then she texted me, she said, "Hey, are you in Chicago right now?" And it was that really happy realization that somebody that the Jimmy Awards had brought me 3 years ago was now standing outside of my hotel room door waiting to say hi to me for the first time in 3 years. So, I definitely think that while, of course, I have my friends from the 2022 Jimmy Awards, I'm really thankful to have been able to stay up late and sit in the common room with everybody this year and, pick pieces of their food off of their plates when they weren't looking, and doing things that just I'm just like
What?
doing things
So you're a thief now? What if you just confessed
but,
to?
like,
She's like, yeah, I
I'm
loved eating
sorry, a
Gavin's
crime.
food.
No, not you.
Gavin's like,
No,
oh,
but,
that's where that went.
just doing things that before felt like the most terrifying idea in the world. The idea that I was now allowed to sit next to somebody in the rehearsal room and not turn my face to the other side while they were singing so that they wouldn't breathe in my direction was really exciting, right? Because it's just, I hadn't gotten that experience of being so close with so many people because we literally couldn't be. We would like greet each other from across the room, and that's where that ended pretty much. Um, but I also will say not a lot, but some of the creative team had changed. Obviously, the Jimmy Awards in-house choreographer Keisha, who is fantastic and a visionary and such an incredible choreographer, didn't return this year. And, happy trails to her. She's going off and doing amazing things. But it was definitely one of those things. It was also exciting that I got to work with Dan Connectus, a new choreographer who is also a legendary in his field, who approaches the Jimmy Awards and choreography in a very different way. And so a lot of the things that you would expect from the Jimmy Awards opener and closer and the medleys and the feature group, all of those things were changing and they were different from when I got to experience them the first time. And that was really exciting because it wasn't a carbon copy of an experience I had had previously. It was completely new and existed in a completely different context under a completely different creative vision, which was really, really awesome. Because I think the more different experiences you have, the more opportunities you are able to grow upon.
I also want to touch on kind of just going back to what we talked about with the Montes and that like release that you get on stage, Chloe. Was that the same at the Jimmys, or was there a certain amount of like panic that like, oh crap, Lin-Manuel Miranda and Josh Groban are watching me from the wings?
Sure. I also think the Jimmys is just this thing that, to be fully honest, doesn't feel completely real while you're doing it. It's one of those things where it's like we were waiting to enter and we had a little bit of like technical difficulty before we were entering for the opening number. And Gavin and I were a part of the group that was stationed in the house. And so we got to walk down the house and like walk through the audience to get on stage. And just the feeling of 1,500 eyes turning to look at you as you're standing right next to them as they realize that you're next to them, and just that immediate surge of energy into your body that the audience is giving you. Because one thing, if the Jimmy Awards audience, they are nothing if not loud. That is probably the loudest audience I will ever and have ever performed for in my entire life. Ever, period, end of sentence, right? So it doesn't feel real because I don't think we as high schoolers who are used to performing for houses usually around 300 people big, to now balloon up to 1,500 people in the audience. You cannot comprehend that until it is over and done with. And so it doesn't feel real in that moment because it's just such a ginormous change. And so it's one of those things where it's unendingly exciting, and the whole time you feel like you're on fire because of how much energy is being given back to you. But I mean, I wouldn't say I was terrified, but I like felt the stage shaking from the force of the cheering in the house, right? So like, yeah, it's a little different, I think. But I mean, come the end of the feature group and we're just like standing there as they're clapping and I'm just breathing and just like standing there, and it's just that's a moment, right? Where it's like I ended the like final pose of the feature group. I was holding my really, really good friend Mira. Shout out Mira. We were holding hands. That was like our final pose. We would like hold hands and just look up into the mezzanine. And I just remember like the thing that brought me back to reality was Mira like squeezing my hand. And as we left, we both just looked at each other and we just smiled. Because, like, what else do you do in that moment but smile?
Gavin, for you, doing the feature group, and then going on to win the Rising Star Award. That what was going through your head? I can't even imagine. Do you remember that? Is that like a blackout on stage moment?
I definitely remember it really well, but it's one of those things where it's like the only thing that I could ever do like to describe the feeling, it was so much joy that my mind was just kind of blank. Like there's nothing going on. The only thing that's going on is my brain sending neurons to my mouth to smile. Like that's the only activity that any of my body was doing. It was one of the like for the feature group, performing on that stage was it was a life-changing experience, right? And as of right now, as far as my relationship with theater goes, it's the greatest moment of my life. And I cannot stress enough, for me, like people always talk about it, like actors always talk about it, especially when they're asked like stage fright, how do you deal with that, right? And the answer is I can't see anything. Like there were an audience of 1,500 people, and I agree with Cece that it's not something that I really grasped until after, because while I was on stage, I don't think I made out a single one of the 1,500 faces. I don't think I saw anybody. Right? Like that's just not where your focus is as a performer. And even if you tried it, here's hundreds of dollars of lights in your face. You can't see anything. And so the only thing that you feel on stage is like you're in this blank other actor space where you're like, hey, what's my super update? And you're picturing your surroundings and you're doing the actor thing, right? But you hear somebody 100 feet away going, yes, that's awesome, right? And so like that, it's the most electric audience I've ever performed for. And then the only time that I really did start seeing people was when the Rising Star Award was announced, because for that part of the show, all of the nominees walk on stage and they just stand there for like 10 minutes. So like so you kind of have nothing else to do than look, right? So that was the one moment. If like I'm very glad to say that during the Jimmys, like we got to have that moment where I'm standing on stage and I'm just kind of taking in everything, right? I'm standing on the biggest stage I've ever stood on, looking into the biggest crowd I've ever performed for. And I'm listening to Josh Groban talk, right? He's Josh Groban.
Sweeney Todd.
Right? He's Sweeney Todd. Sweeney Todd's my favorite musical. I went to go see Josh Groban as Sweeney Todd, and during Epiphany, he threatened to kill me, right? It was the greatest moment of my theater-going life. And they announced Josh Groban said my name, right? And I had this moment where I was like, no, right? I was like, it was just one of those moments where I was like, I couldn't tell in the immediate moment if I was daydreaming or if it had actually happened, right? Because it's like I think it's something that like I think anybody who's done competitive theater on the scale, whether it be the Monte Awards or the Jimmys, right, has that moment when they're driving, they're just like thinking, what would it be like if I were to win this thing? What would that moment be like, right? And like I'm very comfortable saying that I have thought, like before that moment happened, I thought about it constantly, right? It wasn't something that ever drove any of the decisions I made, or it never altered my experience. But it's something that like right before I would go to sleep, I was like, I wonder what that would be, right? So when it happened, it just felt like that. It felt like I was once again doing that. And then I heard like 1,500 people along with 100 nominees on stage turn and look at me and start screaming in my face. And I'm like, oh, this is a very real thing that just happened. And you can see like in the video, I'm the only thing I'm doing is just smiling. It was the most euphoric moment that I've ever had on stage. And I think like at one point, I've seen the video, at one point I started clapping as if the award wasn't for me, right? Because that's just kind of all my body could do. Because like I looked at Jamar, who is fantastic. He's wonderful. He's going to UMich. He's the most talented person ever. He won the best dancer like 30 seconds before me, right? And so I see Jamar, and I'm clapping for him while I'm standing in line with him at the edge of the stage. And I'm like, oh wait, no, that looks like you're conceited. Stop. Like,
who's Gavin Evanson? What Gavin Evanson?
Right? And it's like, oh yeah, no, you're welcome, guy. But no, it was wonderful. I mean, like, I'm so eternally grateful, not only for like the fact that I won this award and this scholarship, and I'm very grateful to the Jimmy Awards for that. But for me, it was one of those things where I was most proud about the fact that the staff felt that I was somebody worthy of that, right? It meant that my work ethic spoke for itself, and that was something that after the fact, after all of the emotions, when I got to think about it, it was one of those things that I just felt very, very proud of and very humbled by, because at no point during my entire Jimmy's experience was I saying like I'm gonna do this thing to win the Rising Star, because the Rising Star Award is also like it's the Jimmy's basically refers to it as the most improved award, right? And it's like at no point did I try to earn that award, because how do you go about planning learning, right? That's not like you can't be like on Tuesday I'm gonna ask a question. That's not how that works, right? It's like, so it was something that I'm very happy to say was entirely natural, but in that moment, head empty, no thought, head empty, smile face, teeth out, right? Like it's just, I don't know if my brain has ever been more blank and more busy at the exact same time, right? Because there's the only thing that you could ever feel in that moment is happiness, and also there is so much going on and happening around you that you have to process, because especially like in rehearsal for it, it's very funny because they prepare the nominees for what you're supposed to do in this moment, right? Or how you go about that. And I don't know about the other nominees, but like for me in those rehearsal moments, it's one of those things where like you pay attention kind of lightly, but like you never assume that you're going to be the person to like win that, right? Or at least I didn't. So the moment my name was announced, it was this rush of like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Josh Groban said my name. What mark do I have to hit? I don't know where I'm supposed to go. Wait, where am I going? And then everybody turns around and they're like, James Hart Nelson, who's like 6'4". He played the Singing in the Rain guy in the character medley. He was one of my best friends I had on the Jimmys. He looks at me and he just like pushes me forward a little bit, knowing that I have to go and hit a mark, right? Because the Jimmy Awards is a show. It's awesome that you're happy. Please go away. Like please start moving. And so there was so much going on where it's like, okay, I walk over there and then I start clapping like an idiot, and I look at Jamar and I give him a hug and I stand there, and then I go to leave, and then I remember that there are 4 other awards that have to be announced, and I'm supposed to stand there and act like that didn't just happen. Right? So there's a lot going on in that moment, but it's the most happy I've ever been on stage for sure.
Yeah, and incredibly well deserved for both of you to be there and to get solos. I like to play every episode of the podcast. I like to play a game with the guests, and I was thinking about this earlier, and I was like, what can I do for Gavin and Chloe that's original, sort of, you know? And I was thinking, you guys have performed enough together over the past few years that you've heard like some of the iconic lines you've had to deliver and probably can do a pretty good impression of them.
Oh my god.
So we're going to test that.
Oh lord. I'm so scared.
Oh yay.
You can put this on your resume.
All right, thank you.
In this game, I will give you a quote that one of you said in a show, and the person who didn't say it in that show will have to give an impression of the person saying the line.
Oh god.
And then let's say it's a quote from Gavin. Cece will say the quote, and Gavin will rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 on the accuracy.
Okay, the accuracy. Thank you.
Yes. The first quote, Gavin, you're going to be doing this impression. This is one of Chloe's lines from Into the Woods as the baker's wife, and it is, "Oh, these are no ordinary beans, son. These beans carry magic."
I know exactly how she did this one. Okay, it was, "Oh no, these are no ordinary beans, son. These beans carry magic." That was like, it was that cadence.
Sure.
What would you rate that?
Solid
it was like a 5.
7 out of 10. There wasn't enough awkward pauses.
That's
Like
true.
the
I was very
cadence.
excited about it.
Yeah. He was very impassioned.
The second one, I think a lot of people could probably do this impression of Gavin. This is at the Jimmys. This is Avenue Q. A penny. Look, It's a sign.
Okay. Ready? We do this often, but okay, because it's very aggressive, but then it's so loud. He goes, "Look, it's a penny," and then he does the.
Is that the end? Are you not going to say the rest of the line?
You want me to sing it? It's a sign. Happy?
I mean, you missed It's from the year I was born.
Oh, that's true. Damn it.
Mm-hmm. So I mean,
Practice hard enough.
on accuracy, ignoring that you didn't say half the line, like an 8. Including the fact that you didn't say half the line, like a 3. Like, but
So-
an 8 in spirit.
She gave you a 10, and you gave her a 3.
She gave me a
Gave him
7.
a 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Nate. And I gave her an honorary 8.
An honorary
Three
8.
is
All right,
still a
all
big
right.
jump, though.
The next quote is also, Cece, you're going to do this impression as well. And this is Gavin as the wolf in Into the Woods. And it's,
God.
the better to eat you with, my dear.
Oh yeah, he would just like scream, "The better to eat you with!"
Oh yeah,
And-
because the way that line worked was for the first 2 lines, she would like talk about like my ears and things like and the tail, right? And I would go, "The better to hug you with, my dear." But that specific line about the mouth, I went from here to the better to eat you with. Like it was a huge shift, and that line was always so funny delivering because I would deliver it over my mic from the green room while I was doing makeup for the prince, right?
Huh.
So it was basically me doing makeup, shouting into my mic, and everybody in the green room just kind of looking at me because I am actively disturbing the peace back there. It's like everybody's like minding their own, but like people are playing Watermelon on their phones, right? And I'm just screaming in front of a mirror.
Okay, impression. I mean,
just did it.
yeah. What's the rating?
Oh, yes, sorry. That was a 10. That you got the essence correct. Yes.
The next one is Gavin. You're doing an impression of Chloe as Eurydice in Hadestown, and it's "Ooh, a liar and a player too. I've met too many men like you."
Okay. So I have to sit here and I have to like remember how Samia's went so that way I can remember how yours. So I have to like, because I was on stage for both of them. In Hadestown, I was sat for half an hour on stage while this line happened. Ooh, a liar and a player too. I've met too many men like you. Because you have to deliver it in the tempo with the music, right? Was that? I think I'm a little off base, quite frankly. But
That's a solid 4.
yeah. Did you do
about the fact that you think he's a douche?
what?
You're a little too cheerful. It's not that
Oh,
cheerful.
okay.
Yeah.
The next one, Gavin. This is another impression for
Yeah.
you, and this is
God.
Chloe as the bar singer in Death Do Us Part. As
Oh.
gentlemen, as gentle as gentlemen can get in a dunghole like this.
I think I've only ever heard this line once. So that's not
What
Cece's
about
fault.
the 2
That's
shows I said it in?
I think I heard it twice then.
He just tuned it out, specifically that line.
Death Do Us Part was a wonderful production process. Let's see. What was the line?
Gentlemen, as gentle as gentlemen can get in a dunghole like this.
Okay. So she would do, because she's actively blocking a scene transition in this moment. She goes, "Gentlemen, as gentle as," I don't know the rest of the line, "as gentle as men can be, as in a dunghole like this." 10 out of 10. I don't know this line. I do not know.
Solid 0.
Yeah,
That
I
was a
don't know this
solid
line.
He didn't even
Fail.
do the accent either.
In a what?
He didn't even do the accent either.
Yeah.
The last one is for you, Cece, and it's
Correct.
perhaps Gavin's most iconic line that the world knows.
Do
And
I
it's
just get to
Hades in
sing?
Hadestown, and it's "Hey little songbird, sing me a song."
Okay. Ready?
Sing it in the original
You
octave.
ready? Okay. I am. Ready?
Oh,
Okay.
fire.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
We've been ready.
Hold on. I need to like lock in. I need to like mog myself. Okay. Little songbird. Give me a song.
I think I'll give that a 1. I think I'm
Oh,
I'm
thank
comfortable giving that a
you.
1.
I was
Yeah.
expecting a 0, so I'll
Yeah,
take
not
the
a 0.
1.
It's a 1. It's a
Yeah,
1.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
Yeah.
quite an interpretation of that line, I'll say.
Yeah. You know, sometimes big actors make big choices. So, what can I say?
I do want to ask
Not
you.
you.
Gavin doesn't make choices at all on stage,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
Gavin, I want to ask you a little bit about, you are popular on social media. How is that how have you learned to market yourself in that way? Because that's a totally different audience than theater.
I'll say this much. For me, at no point, at least in this current state, has it become that. I don't view it as a way to market myself. I think like the reason that I posted Hey Little Songbird all the way back in February was because the video was too large for me to send my friend on Instagram. Like that's why I uploaded the video. She wanted to see the clip and I was like, here, and I was like, drats, I'll upload it on TikTok, right? Um and I'm very thankful for the uh, attention that it has garnered, right? I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm very thankful for that. And I'm very thankful to say that I have somewhat of a platform now. And that's really cool. But I think if anybody were to go to my TikTok page right now, they would know that I've completely abandoned the thing that actually gets me views in favor of making comic book videos, right? It's like, it's something that if my image is always going to be at the forefront of what I put online, right? I'm not going to put anything that'll ever paint me in a bad light. Of course not, right? And I would only ever put things out that I am proud of, and I'm still going to be making theater content and sharing theater content. But it is this type of like niche internet micro celebrity presence is something that I accidentally stumbled into, and that I am not seeking to make something. I don't want to make it an aspect of my job, right? I think I'm very happy that I have this, and I'm always going to use that page. Like I have already used it to promote, of course, the things that I do, but mainly the things that my friends are doing. I'm very happy with Death Do Us Part, and of course, like I choreographed that show. I had a stake in that, but I used it more as an excuse to promote Jake's company, right? The Rigby Theater Company. And in that regard, it is something that I am okay using it for. Like I am all day, every day okay with using my page to uplift my friends' efforts, but I don't ever want my social media presence to feel like marketing. Um, and I think at least I hope if you were to go to my page right now and watch the last stupid video I put on my page, you wouldn't go, his PR manager told him to do this. It's like no, the
How
last
much did
video
that suitcase cost?
yeah, right. It's like the last video I uploaded was me lip syncing an audio where I shaved. Like I at no point do I want 30,000 followers isn't enough to get me on Broadway, nor is any amount of followers. And I think as long as I am conveying myself as a person, right? And like that's all that you really need to do as far as your social media presence goes. I'm happy to say that I have the following I do, and of course, I'm never going to fight if I get a larger one. But it's entirely about me having fun, right? If I ever stop having fun, I'm just not going to do it anymore. And that's why, like, don't get me wrong, I'm going to View Farm. I'm like anybody who watches this pod, like, yes, there are still Hades videos that I have not uploaded, and that's because I need to milk that well dry because I too need to pay for college, right? I'm very happy about that, right? I will always be, if anybody's ever going to ask me about it, I will always 100% be open about the fact that yes, I do make money off of these videos, and part of why you will see some of like the theater videos as far as like clips of shows is because those are the ones that do get views, and I do have to pay for college, right?
And your suitcase.
And my suitcase, right? It's something that is a very real, that's the reality of the situation. But like, if you watch any of the majority of my videos, which again are more about comic books than anything, none of those are making numbers that I could ever actually make money with. I'm not making money off of those videos. I'm not doing those because I want to grow my platform. I'm doing those because I finally like have somewhat of an audience who cares about the thing that I'm passionate about that I don't really get to talk about a lot in person, because not a lot of people in my life that I know face to face read comic books, right? And so I took something that I was very lucky and grateful to have, seized upon it, and said, cool, now that everybody's paying attention, stop while I talk about Watchmen, right? Like that's kind of what it's become, and I'm very, very grateful for it, and I love it, and I'm so happy, and I'm very grateful to all the people who have said overwhelmingly positive things on these videos. I think I'm very lucky in that regard, and it's, if anything, the only thing that this social media quote unquote presence has changed is how my interactions with my real life friends go, because now it's just a joke. Like now my friends call me TikTok Hades, right? It's like people that I have known for 8 years call me TikTok Hades. And that's really funny. That's really funny. Like that's the only thing that I could say is tangibly different from now and 2 months ago.
Chloe, has that ever been something that's crossed your mind? Because that's such a big part of our society and of theater as a whole. There's a whole like branch of TikTok and social media that is theater.
I think my opinion on like the theater artist doubling as an influencer is kind of like, I I think that social media is a very powerful tool in reaching wider audiences, and that obviously we want people to hear us sing and do our monologues and do our little dances, right? We want people to watch. But I also think that there's a very fine line between yourself as a human being online and yourself as a brand. And I don't think that, especially like as an 18-year-old girl, I don't see myself as in a space in how I relate to online spaces, being able to separate myself from like me as the person and me as the brand. I think that for now, like my TikTok has like 3 videos of me singing on it, and the rest of them are like me at prom with my best friend because I don't know, that's what you do when you go to prom. You make a TikTok about it. I don't know. Right, but it's like I've and my parents, oddly enough, have kind of been on that train recently of like you should try and like cultivate some form of following because that's a thing that people in your field
Hmm.
specifically are trying to do right now. And it's like yes and no. I think that especially for me is like I want to exist in a lot of different worlds. Like theater is my first love, and definitely like if I choose anything, I will always choose to be on stage. But there's a lot of different directions that I also want to take my career, right? It's like theater isn't the only thing I intend on studying in college. And so it's one of those things where it's like the scope of what I as a person could be in all of these different places that people exist is still so vast, and I don't feel like I have myself fully figured out and defined yet, that I'm not concerned with cultivating a social media following just because I would never want to lose myself to the noise. And I think that's something that we as young people are very susceptible to. And so it's like I have a lot of respect for what Gavin has been able to do because Gavin has not turned himself into a brand, right? It's like yes, Gavin is popular on TikTok because of his Hades videos, but at the end of the day, like the majority of the things on his page, I doom scroll Gavin's page often because it's so fun to exist on Gavin's TikTok and just like watch all the things that he posts because it's like all of it is just things that Gavin enjoys like making and recording and editing and posting, right? None of it is like Gavin waking up in the morning going, "Oh, I have to do my daily content farm." Like no, he wakes up and he's like
Dunk your
like
face in an ice bucket and let's get going.
right there's no everything that Gavin makes is so authentically like his own and just a representation of his inner spirit. And it's like not to be
Yeah.
dramatic, but like his
No,
TikTok
yeah.
is very representative of who he is and the things he finds funny. And there isn't a lot of compromise between like the genuine real person that is Gavin and the Gavin that's online. Those two people are pretty much completely the same because it's just Gavin doing videos that he likes to post. And so I have a lot of respect for that and that form of content creation. And I don't think that I, as a person, am quite ready to take that step. just because I think it's something that swallows you very, very quickly. And so, and it's like people online can and often will be mean, and I'm like, I don't want to have to worry about that quite yet. I'm like, no, it's okay. I'm okay.
You know, Gavin, the real question is, where is Coolsville and why does it suck?
I think Coolsville Sucks is a reference to Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. In that movie, there is a scene where the evil news reporter lady is interviewing Fred, and he says, "You're just trying to make it seem like I think Coolsville sucks," and they clip that and they like turn the story on Fred. For those who don't know, Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed is, and I do like there's not a hint of irony in this statement, is my second favorite movie of all time. I love that movie so much. Um, and that all my love for that movie is sincere. It's not ironic. It's not nostalgia bait. I think that movie is fantastic. I think it's a 10 out of 10. It's a perfect movie. And I am never changing my bio. Like ever.
Well, without taking up too much more of your guys' time, I like to close out every episode with the same 3 questions for all of my guests so the listeners can get a comparison point. So these are what I call the theater threes, and Chloe, we'll start with you on the first one, and that is, what is your favorite musical?
Oh, my favorite musical? Oh, you asked me such a hard question. Oh, Nate, because here's the thing. I would say my favorite musical is Carrie the musical,
Okay.
but I also really love Into the Woods and Anastasia. Those two kind of can join into a single spot on my podium. So, but like real answer, my favorite show is Carrie.
Gavin, how about you?
I did say it earlier in the interview. It's Sweeney Todd, but I will agree with Cece that honestly, depending on my mood, it could also be Into the Woods. I think Into the Woods is probably the best written musical that I've ever experienced, and I think that nothing's gonna really change that.
Yeah, it's pretty dang near perfect.
Yeah.
The second question, and Chloe, we'll start with you again on this one, is what actor did you look up to as a kid and why? Or who are you still looking up to?
A lot of my theater career has been informed specifically by Lindsay Mendez. She is incredible. I think that I am like her trajectory as a performer is just one of those things where it's like she didn't go to college. She went straight to the city because she knew what she wanted. And she did all of the tiny shows in random spaces all over New York. And she exploded over time, right? It's not anything to do with anything other than her intense work ethic and her determination to be in this industry. And I fully believe that she like carved herself a place in this world as somebody who like obviously so many people know who she is because of Marilee now and like what an incredible performance it was. But it's just all of her work has so much artistic merit. And I think that there are few singers, in my opinion, in the theater space right now that have as much color and life to their voices as hers, which her sound is what's informed a lot of what I sound like as a singer and a musician now. So
Every time someone asks me this question, it's a no-brainer for me. Jim Carrey was and will always be my favorite performer. I often blame Jim Carrey for why I am an actor. Um, Everything about what I find funny physically, Jim Carrey. I think if you were ever able to see me perform, specifically in comedic roles, you would see a lot of his influence because Jim Carrey just is the guy. I was raised on his movies, and I think the amount of energy and life that he exudes in every single thing that that man does is the thing that made me want to do this. And I mean, he's still kicking. I don't know why. He came out of retirement to do the Sonic movies, right? And he loves doing that. And that, like, I want to reach a point in my career where I am like 73 doing a stupid ass movie, like just for fun.
Sega's on
right?
the phone. Sonic
Yeah,
reboot.
please make me Dr. Robotnik in 30 years. But no, Jim Carrey has and always will be my favorite performer.
And talk about like depth of career, range.
Yes,
Insane.
absolutely.
Very
Absolutely.
much
The
like
same,
yourself.
like thank you. Like the same guy who did the Truman Show also did Dumb and Dumber, right? And it's like that's something like that is the type of legacy I want to leave behind. And I think because for me, uh, the big thing that has informed what I want to be as a performer is the idea of laughter and the idea of making somebody feel happy through doing something really, really dumb is just that's my ideal way to live. And I mean Jim Carrey, it's his fault. I don't credit him with it. It's his fault that I am this way.
Jim
So
Carrey, if you are listening to this.
I'm when I get you, Jim Carrey.
The third and final question is, what advice do you have for theater kids or anyone wanting to get into the industry?
Oh, I would
Probably
say, well, go ahead. You started talking
no.
first.
I was
No.
no, because mine was gonna be a dumb joke, and then now you're gonna give a sincere answer. I was gonna say, stop, just stop. But
Um,
yeah. Anyway, you go while I formulate an actual answer.
sure.
Cut that out,
I would
Nate.
say,
We'll clip that part and put it in the same vein as Coolsville.
No.
I definitely think that the only way to grow as an artist is to keep doing it and be really bad at it for a little while so that you can figure out how to get better. If you spend your career being scared of the things you cannot yet do, you will never learn how to do them. And so it's one of those things where it's like you need to be very comfortable with the idea that you will always be facing a new monologue or a new song or a new type of show or a new role that you're not completely comfortable with the material and it doesn't feel like you have it in your back pocket. Because the minute that theater starts to become incredibly comfortable and stagnant, that's the minute that you stop growing as a performer. And so to always continue to push yourself and pursue something new and something different from what you're used to is the best and most valuable thing that you can ever give yourself. So I would definitely say just become comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Gavin,
think-
have you formulated an answer?
Yes, yes. I think the biggest thing that I learned and the thing that has driven me as far as it has is the truth in this industry of the fact that opportunity is not going to find you. This is a very independently driven career. You have to find opportunity. You have to do research, right? And it's one of those things where it's unfortunate. It is, and it's unfair. There are people who don't live in areas that are as theatrically vibrant as Tucson, right? And the unfortunate thing about that is that means that you have to work even harder to find your work, right? It's going to take a lot of work before you get to a point where somebody's going to ask you to do something. And that doesn't mean give up. That doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that you can't do this thing. It means that the reality of doing this thing is that you have to seek out opportunity. You have to find your audition. You have to find somebody to talk to about this. You have to find whatever you need to flourish, whatever you think you need to flourish, you have to find. Right? And that's not, I don't want that to be worrisome or daunting, because it shouldn't be, because this is the thing that you want to do. At no point was I ever overwhelmed by the sense of, or by the thought that I have to work so hard, because this is the thing that I want to work at, right? And I think understanding that you have to be the one to propel your career forward is the biggest difference between people who work and people who don't, right? And I'm not saying that because I think I'm this incredibly hard worker, but I am saying that as someone who in the past I've been doing theater for 4 years, and in 4 years I have performed in 31 shows.
Wow.
And that's not because like everybody loves me and I have an uncle who is like, right, like it's because I did research. It's because I looked up local theaters and I found their audition information, and I went up to people and I asked them, hey, do you know what's going on? Right. And that agency is what you need, especially as a young performer, before you have, I don't know, an agent, right? Like that's your job. That is your job, definitively. No ifs, ands, or buts. That comes with this. And that's not a scary thing, because the moment you do it once, it becomes so much easier to just keep doing it. Because the way you find out about things never changes. It's literally just ask a question, just ask somebody. They will have the answer. Somebody who you know is going, like, if you are involved in the theater community, somebody is going to know about an audition, straight up. Like, I promise you that. So just ask, right? That's what you have to do. If you really want this, just ask. Like,
Well, I will say that is two of the most well-spoken answers that I've ever had to that question, so thank you both. And thank you both for being here. I just want to say, like, I admire and look up to you both in everything that you do, and I'm incredibly fortunate to have worked with you both. I wish you weren't leaving to New Jersey. I wish you weren't living on a lake, because I'm jealous, but, you know, I wish you nothing but the best in New Jersey and everywhere else that life takes you.
thank you.
Thank
Love you,
you.
Nate.
Love you.
Love
Aw.
Strange is the call of the strange man. I wanna fly down and feed at his hand. I wanna lie soft place to land. I wanna lie down forever.
You shine like a diamond down in the light, and the choice is yours if you're willing to choose. Seeing as you've got nothing to lose.
Thank you both so much for joining me today. I'm endlessly excited to see what you accomplish. Thank you also for being an inspiration to me and to everyone else listening to this podcast. Your maturity, talent, and kindness always shine. I am so lucky to know you both. As for you, dear listeners, thank you for listening. Stay tuned for the announcement of our next interview. See you all next time. Today's episode features Gavin Evanson performing She Loves Me from She Loves Me, with music written by Jerry Bach and lyrics by Sheldon Harnick. It also features Chloe Harris performing All Falls Down from Chaplin, the musical, with music and lyrics written by Christopher Curtis. Both recordings are from the 2025 Monte Awards, with piano accompaniment by Elizabeth Spencer. Performer introductions by Tiffany Jensen. Recordings credit Arts Express Theater and Broadway in Tucson. Today's episode also includes Hey Little Songbird from Hadestown, performed by Gavin Evanson and Chloe Harris at the 2024 Arizona Thespian Festival in Phoenix, Arizona. Music and lyrics by Anais Mitchell. Recording credit Gavin Evanson. TheatreQs is produced by Nate Wiley Productions and me, Nathaniel Wiley, featuring music by Jeffrey Evans. Jeff Evans is a musician and choir teacher from Tucson, Arizona. The song that you heard in this episode is Highway Breakdown Song. Take it away, Mr. Evans.
Oh, someday I will make it there. Until then, I'll just sit beside the chariot that will carry me home, no matter the trouble we find.
If you like what you hear in this podcast, follow the podcast and check out our website, natewileyproductions.com, for more information about the podcast, articles on small businesses, photo galleries, and much, much more. Thank you all for listening today.